I'm Marley.
I'm Maria.
And I'm Kendra, and welcome to Cafe Hachidori.
Okay, what are you guys drinking?
I have green tea again. Surprise.
Classic.
I'm just copying Marley. I also have green tea.
Aw, you guys are no fun.
What do you have?
I got some hot chocolate with a bunch of marshmallows.
Why do you always have
Sounds so
fun
good.
stuff? I need to come record with you. You always have good stuff.
My goal is to have a different drink every episode, and so far I've been successful.
You know what? I think I'm gonna start doing that now.
Oh, I'm gonna keep drinking green tea. So it's gonna be me.
Just all the detox and relaxation.
Yeah. It's time for the talk that we've been waiting for, guys. The talk about the live action for Kimi no Na. What do you think's gonna happen?
God.
My only problem is that it's not by a Japanese director, because live action by Japanese directors, specifically the Rurouni Kenshin trilogy and the Japanese Death Note trilogies, were absolutely amazing. They were really well done and visually stunning. Like, those are my favorite live action adaptations ever. But any of the other ones, mostly from Hollywood, they just don't do that well. So, like, I'm not expecting much from this, even though that J.J. Abrams actually has really good films. This isn't probably what I would have expected him to pick up on.
Yeah. They capitalize. So what they're doing is they're capitalizing on a market that they think they can make easy money off of. Or not even that they can make easy money, they're also trying to go for a market that probably hasn't seen it before. I'm just thinking, like, that's why so many of them do badly is really, honestly, the reason that a lot of live action adaptations do badly is because they try to dumb it down so that people that don't know anything don't understand. And it's like, no, just do it the same way that it was. If you really want it to be a live action, do it the same way the animation did it because it makes sense for everyone that watches it.
Yeah, and I think with this movie, it just has so many subtleties to it, and so what we were talking about before we got to this episode is it's so context dependent that, like, God forbid what they do, like they do with a lot of other movies, if you cast like a whole bunch of white people in not Japan and completely like remove this movie from its like really, really dependent context, then like what does that look like, and how does that change the relationship between these two characters, and how does it have that more natural explanation for the phenomenon of the body swap and the time travel, and what lengths are they going to have to go to be able to cover that up and have it in a way that makes sense to its audience if it's not, you know, taking place in the same way that it did in the animation.
Let's talk about that for a second. The idea that the context of the entire movie is going to have to be changed. Because where is this going to take place? Is it going to take place in Japan? I honestly don't think so. I do not think it's going to take place in Japan because it's by Hollywood. If it does take place in Japan, then we can get all that context in there, you know? But I do not think that it is going to be set in Japan. And because of that, a lot of the way that this movie works in terms of symbolism and in terms of like culture with musubi and the rope and the sake and all of that stuff is just going to be completely lost. And not just that, but also the culture in terms of how far away they are. Like, where is it going to be placed in America? Where are they going to be able to, where is Mitsuha's character going to live that has the same kind of spiritual connection? Where is Taki going to live? That is like, is he going to live in New York? Is he going to live in LA? How are they going to be able to communicate? And it's also kind of interesting because of their age gap is also going to be very much so different, I feel.
Yeah, and then even without that context dependency, again, there's going to be points where, like, it just makes me think that even without that sort of a spiritual connection that the place has, which is really, really important to Mitsuha's character and her background and explaining why a lot of these kinds of things happen, it just makes me think it's going to be like your average, like, Freaky Friday-esque, like, body swap movie, and they're going to be like, what? I'm in somebody else's body.
Which then takes away the entire aspect of the fact that they didn't care that they were in each other's bodies. It was just that they were experiencing it. They didn't try to fix it. They didn't try to figure out why it was happening. They just did.
Exactly. And so without that spiritual kind of like additive to it, it just, now it kind of makes you have to rely on that kind of cheesy, gimmicky.
Yeah, now that you guys say that, I feel like Hollywood is gonna focus on the wrong problems to solve and just kind of derail itself from the original plot.
Elaborate?
So, like you said, the body swap thing wasn't bothering Mitsuha or Taki to the point where they were trying to fix it. They were just going along with it, and they were using it to get to their different timelines. So they were trying to solve the meteor problem, but not the body swap problem, which to like normal people or Hollywood filmmakers' minds probably would be the main problem. Like they don't want for this supernatural occurrence to happen. They want to stop the body swapping so that they can get back to their own lives. So I feel like they're gonna tackle that problem earlier on rather than focusing on the comet.
Yeah, and focusing on the time travel aspect. Because if they focused on trying to get back to their own worlds, or like stop the body switching aspect of it, it loses the power of the time travel aspect. Because like I think I mentioned before, the method in which the time travel occurs is through the body swapping. The body swapping is not just body swapping, it is time travel, you know? So if they just focus on it being body swapping, let's figure out how to stop it, it kind of takes away that entire aspect of these two people are falling in love with each other by being in each other's bodies, and then that dramatic reveal that she's not there. She's dead.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really kind of threw me for the loop when you kind of first mentioned that they were starting to take on this project was the fact that J.J. Abrams was directing the film. And I think he's a really good director, but all of the movies that I've seen by him that are really good are just, they're very action-y. You know, there are lots of explosions, there's lots of really cool fight scenes and like choreography and that sort of a thing. And it just seems just like a completely new angle to come at this movie from, because this movie, like part of one of the reasons that makes it feel really long is that there are just points where there isn't a whole lot of action, and a lot of the things that are going on are very subtle and beneath the surface.
Which is why I was thinking that they're probably gonna beef everything up unnecessarily with explosions and like excessive tech CGI, which I don't want to happen, because this movie is it's what you would call a slice of life anime,
Yeah.
I think. So it's supposed to be ordinary, everyday looking. There's not much supposed to be happening, but there's still drama under the water. But that's not really acceptable for Hollywood films. They have to be dramatic and big and exciting, so I'm kind of afraid of that happening. Especially when they have the comet blow up the whole village.
Oh my gosh, yes, I was about to say. I don't want that. The best part about that explosion is the fact that you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it and you don't hear it.
No, you just hear the chime. It's like, I have this fear that they're going to have the entire destruction scene, and like, that takes away the power of the moment.
God forbid it's in 3D, you'll just see a whole bunch of like wooden pieces of buildings flying at you from the movie screen.
And screaming and destruction. And the movie is not about that. The movie is about hope and love and spirituality and so many other things. It's not, and yes, it deals with destruction, but it's not focused on it.
The people come to the movies to see destruction and catastrophe.
And really dramatic romance. So I wouldn't be surprised if they add, like, they already have Okudera Senpai, you know? So, like, what if they add in another romantic lead in Mitsuha's life and, like, but they already have Okudera Senpai, and I feel like they're gonna completely change her character, who's a very smart written character, you know?
She didn't have much, but she did have something.
Yes. And for what she had, it was pretty well written.
Yeah. But yeah, now that you say that, there's probably gonna be, like, a kiss scene and everything.
This is just gonna
And
be
like
bad.
something super dramatic and, like, tears, so many tears. And then, you know, okay, so we talked about this moment being very powerful, which is the moment in which we really sympathize with Mitsuha, which is when she meets Taki in the train, right? How are they gonna do that scene?
Oh, true.
Because is it gonna, if he's in New York, you know, subway, that makes sense. Okay, I can get that, right? But if he's not in New York, what mass transit is he gonna be on?
Probably a bus by best bet.
The only thing that could be would be a subway, and subways can get that crowded, but like, I don't know. It doesn't have the same context. Like, New York subways and like the subway system of Japan are different.
But like the big thing though, if it's gonna be in America, if this is not going to be in Japan, then that means Mitsuha's not gonna be a shrine maid, which doesn't allow for the musubi or the kuchikamizake to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't explain how the body swapping is happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that it was ever explained, but it just won't seem relevant to anything.
By her being a shrine maiden, we can buy into the idea that it's a part of her family.
Right.
And that entire... Because, let's be honest here. There is no... Unless she is Native American...
Which is not going to happen.
There is no way... Because I don't know much about Native American religions in general, but that's the only group of people that could possibly have a religion that is anywhere close to being a shrine maiden, in my, at least, understanding. Because most of the other faith-based religions that have a single god do not follow the same kind of concept as shrine maidens have.
Yeah, monotheism isn't quite so, accommodating in that way.
Especially since Shintoism is not a monotheism.
Yes, and so that's the only reason that if she's Native American, like I said, I don't know much about Native American religions, but from what I do understand, they aren't monotheistic. So that's probably the only way that they could have it work if it's in America. But are they gonna make her Native American?
And that's kind of the thing that I like latching onto that idea. It was if it was like a smaller kind of like group of independent filmmakers who took this idea and decided to like redo it in the voice of a Native American or an indigenous culture or anything, I even think that would be really cool because you would be able to play with kind of a lot of similar spiritual elements that this movie touches on, but it could be in a really different and kind of new context, and that could shed a lot of light on the way that even just from like culture to culture, the way that people relate to each other and the way that they relate to their spirituality can be so different. And I think that would be a phenomenal, but that's like a movie that you would see like on Netflix when you were scrolling around when you were bored, not like something like a big Hollywood box office movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that's at some sort of small filmmaker thing. It's not gonna be a major box office hit. I don't know, it's like they probably aren't gonna cast people of color for this film if they do, and if they do, surprise me, color me surprised if they actually do, but even if it's set in America, we won't get
that same,
And then we have, the whole idea of which I've mentioned before of 1/3 plot, 1/3 music, 1/3 animation. So we're just talking about the plot right now, how we don't know how they're gonna go about it, but we're not even thinking like the animation for this movie is one part of the entire story. So much visual storytelling happens. We learn so much about all of the characters, not through what they say or what they do, but the environments in which they inhabit. And then the music, like Maria mentioned before, the subtlety of the music is so important to this film. And the interludes and everything. And they're not, Radwimps isn't signing on. They're not going to use, from what I understand, they're not going to use the original music. So we're gonna lose that aspect of it because the music was so important. And I mean, yes, they could always get some really great composer for the movie. I just don't understand how they're gonna do it.
I think everybody should just get their money back and go sit down and just stop. The movie that shall not be named is a great example for why what you're doing is not a good idea.
And yet they still insist on doing it.
With all of the new adaptations that are coming out, yeah, they're gonna keep doing it because it's some cash grab. No. Because they're like, we should capitalize on all of these weebs. Yes,
because weebs have all the money.
Any other other notes on why this should not be done or what you think of it?
Yeah, bottom line, I have no expectations.
None.
I'll see this movie if it happens to be like free on the internet and my viewership doesn't make anybody think that I'm supporting it whatsoever.
Then maybe.
Yes, if it were free.
Even then.
Alright, well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap up.
If you like what you heard, please hit like and subscribe.
Leave us some comments below. Ask us questions.
And we hope you join us again at Cafe Hachidori.
Bye.
See ya.